Welcome to the recording of the Business Tools for Improved Sheep Performance webinar. This webinar was presented by Ian McLean from Bush Agribusiness on the 9th of December 2021. This is clip 6 of 8 and covers how to measure grazing load and an overview of animal units.
So we'll look now at what you can do with this information and starting to use it in your business. So measuring grazing load, we need to express the animal numbers as animal units to be able to get the most out of them for some uses. That allows us to know the stocking rate, the enterprise size, the total number of AE or DSC, whatever one you're using. We'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. Determine the performance per animal unit, whether that be kilos of meat produced, kilos of wool produced, the income per animal unit, the profit per animal unit. We can't determine any of them without knowing the animal units. And it lets us compare enterprises, maybe within your business or with your neighbour, comparing different businesses and see where you're going well or where you can improve. The animal units are a measure of relative energy demand, effectively, which is a proxy for intake. They're effectively on the same place, they're a proxy for what animals are going to eat by way of intake. An important thing to remember that is that they don't account for dietary substitution or overlap, just because that's going to be unique to the species you've got and the feed you've got there. So what I mean there is if you're running, say, sheep and goats in the one paddock, significant overlap of what they'll eat, but also the goats will be eating some of the stuff the sheep won't be eating and vice versa. The animal units don't take that into account. You need to take that into account at paddock level, and that is important, but we can't factor that into the animal unit. So it's just their total energy demand, which is a proxy for intake. To understand that dietary overlap, substitution for sheep, goats, cattle and roos, Lester Paul from QDAF did a couple of what I think were quite good articles in the Rangeland magazine, Rangeland Journal in 2020 on macroplods, goats, sheep and cattle, equivalency in how much they eat and equivalency in where they're eating. Heavy going, but a lot of good content in there, so ask someone from QDAF, the local librarian, they'll be able to help you track them down. Sheep are usually expressed in DSC, cattle and AE, but they can be interchanged. So work we've done recently for QDAF, looking at animal units for goats, found that goats and sheep have the same animal units at the same level of production. And what I mean there is if we've got a 30 kilo wether sheep or wether goat that is gaining the same amount of weight, they're going to have the same DSE rating for both of them. Their energy demand, according to the feeding standards, is the same, and these measures are interchangeable. DSE is obviously common for sheep in the south. Just about all livestock classes are expressed DSE. People talk DSE for cattle, and in the north the AE is the main one. But they're interchangeable and can be looked at in either. And the animal units, if calculated properly, reflect the total energy demand for that animal. So what they need for maintenance, for walking around, for growth, pregnancy and lactation. They can't just reflect maintenance, or that's inadequate. We want to know the total energy demand because that affects what they eat. If you're having some trouble sleeping, there's a report we did in 2020 on redefining animal unit equivalents, putting this all into practice. It's all available on our website. Pretty heavy reading, but if you're interested in knowing more, that's a good place to start. So we'll talk about AE and DSE. LSU is another one that's reasonably commonly used. So if you want to be able to convert one to the other, there's a table there for doing that. The standard animals, which don't exist, you need to remember these animals don't exist, they're just a reference point to calculate the energy demand to compare different classes of animals on a common basis. So the AE is a 450 kilogram Bos Taurus steer with 0 live weight gain. The DSC is a 45 kilo wether with 0 live weight gain, and there's not general consensus on that. Some people use a 50 kilo wether. I don't think there ever is going to be agreement on that. Just be conscious of which one it is, and in there is a way to adjust from one to the other. And LSU, there's a number of different definitions out there. This is based on a 400 kilo crossbred steer with 0 live weight gain.
Thank you for watching this short clip. For more information, please visit www.leadingsheep.com.au.